The phrase "it's the economy's stupid" was something that came up in the Bill Clinton campaign, and I think it's slightly wide of the mark because it wasn't really the economy. It was the stupidity which was important, and it was a phrase which was designed, I think, to shore up the superiority of an intelligent encounter with the electorate. And I think it was about education and the idea that when you talk to the electorate, you want to talk intelligently to the electorate rather than promise them things. And I think probably the same could be said now in Britain. The same could be said elsewhere. I think it's often better to assume that the person you're talking to would enjoy a proper conversation rather than a snatch at slogans. And this brings me down to Putin and the idea of Putin. Why are there people in the West? Because not everybody who's invaded my comment section and praised Mr. Putin can be a Russian troll. There are many people in the West, in Britain, who admire Putin. And why? Why would this be? Well, first of all, they haven't been to Russia. They haven't lived in Moscow. And secondly, there's something about Putin as a leader which is admirable. The idea of the alpha male. And you look from Putin to Biden and you think, well, yes, Mr. Biden in his uncertainty, in his dotage, as somebody said, I think this morning, who's going to tell Grandpa, who's going to take the keys of the car from Grandpa? Well, I can't see Mr. Biden going into the next election, frankly. Whether Mr. Trump does so or not, and I think Mr. Trump has a limited shelf life on the same basis. There are many elderly people who go on to do significant things as they get older. I hope I will be one of them. But it's certainly there's no certainty. On a much more uncertain ground, on a much less secure ground, is the other argument which turns up in the comment section about whether or not Mr. Putin is smart. And people are saying, oh, he's smart, he's intelligent. Well, I would say to a certain extent, so what? There's plenty of smart people, I know quite a few, who are capable of doing very silly things, who practically, they're not very clever. Why are they so helpless, frankly? Why are smart people so helpless? For example, the mathematics tutor who can't do basic arithmetics. We all know them. The great the eccentric professor who can't boil an egg. Why? In contrast, if you flip that round, there's plenty of people who are clearly barely capable of registering the ability to construct a sentence, who will tell you when asked that they are above average. And they may well be, but they may be lacking in the skills to articulate that. There are plenty of people who believe they are above average drivers who can barely steer a straight line, who can barely master a straight line. These people will tell you they are magnificent motorists, magnificent beyond compare. Head teachers who would rather create strategies than educate students. Head teachers who haven't been in a classroom in decades. Engineers who would rather tell stories than solve problems. The stories are energizing and entertaining, but why aren't they doing the comedy circuit? Healthcare workers who would rather tick boxes than care for patients. Army chiefs who would rather do rebranding exercises than military exercises. People avoid responsibility. Responsibility is different to intelligence, to smart intelligence. A higher IQ doesn't mean real intelligence or real ability. And so telling me that Putin is smart doesn't commend Putin to me at all. It simply makes me wonder why he got someone else to write his doctoral thesis. A skill is not an innate ability. And being able to do an IQ test and get a good IQ result is a skill. It can be taught. By the way, I've taught it. And it's also boring. It's boring as hell. It's almost more boring than trying to complete one of the English exams like IELTS or proficiency. Unbelievably dull. If you're capable of a 7.5 in IELTS or higher, then you're likely to be numbed into indolence by the exam process, stupefied into stupidity. I don't know anybody. I certainly couldn't get much more than a 7.5. I'd be bored out of my mind before I got to the end of the writing paper. Bored. Bored. Because if you are capable of 7.5 or 8, then you're too intelligent to suffer the inanity of the questions. And if you're intelligent, it doesn't mean that you're going to grasp control. Many intelligent people would rather follow the crowd. They would take advantage of others. Because intelligence is about seeing the shortcuts. Some intelligent people, I'm afraid, take advantage of other people and damage them. They're bullies. Don't for 1 minute underestimate the bully and think the bully is not intelligent. The bully probably is more intelligent than you are. The bully is just horrible. And being horrible is far from the preserve of the stupid. Very few of us are brave enough or silly enough to take the other road through the woods, to be independent. Stupidity and stupidity is easier, even if you're smart. I think the problem is not whether somebody is intelligent or whether somebody is stupid, whether somebody has a high IQ or not, but whether or not they have empathy, whether or not they have vision. I would rather face the villain than the genuinely stupid. The genuinely stupid, I don't know what they're going to do. The villain, I have a pretty good idea what they're going to do. And anyway, the villain is interesting. I would be fascinated. And that brings me back to Mr. Putin. I'm not fascinated by Mr. Putin, which makes me wonder if he is intelligent. I don't think so. I think he's been nifty. I think he's been nimble. I think he's been in the right place at the right time, and I think a lot has been hung on his shoulders. But intelligent? Certainly, judging by the other night, if that really was Putin, and I very much doubt it is, he's very good at learning his lines. A little, not unlike, he reminds me a little bit of Mr. Farage. Affable and very good at mastering his brief. But Mr. Farage has had 20-odd years, 25 years, to master the principles of Brexit. And he does it brilliantly. Jacob Rees-Mogg. Brilliant. Not a clever boy. I remember him very briefly at Oxford. And, the clever people are people like, well, David Cameron is clever. Dull, but clever. Boris is clever. Clever and lazy. I know clever people. I've come across clever people. But clever doesn't mean good. And clever doesn't mean dynamic. And clever is not really a synonym for smart. Intelligent doesn't mean smart. If Putin is intelligent, well, as I say, why did he get someone else to write his doctoral thesis? And maybe that is a sign of intelligence. Maybe because he could. Maybe Mr. Putin is one of those smart, intelligent people who wants to damage others rather than simply take advantage and go with the crowd, go with the flow. As I say, there are some intelligent people who want to take the other route, who want to take the other road, who want to be independent. They're few and far between, and they need support. Those people who have vision, not necessarily intelligent, but they are dynamic. And we have a habit, I'm afraid, in our condescending instincts on the internet, in our condescending, in our put-downs, to use words like intelligence as a marker to differentiate us from them. Well, I must say all I'm aware of, frankly, when I look at the internet, is my own shortcomings. And I'm always very entertained by people who say, well, this person is very intelligent, this person is very smart. And I think, well, why? What can I learn from them? And I look at Mr. Putin, and I looked at him in the eye, and I thought, what can I learn from you? I'm afraid the answer is not very much. So I'm not convinced about Mr. Putin's intelligence, or fabled intelligence, supposed intelligence. No. I think he's really a sort of thug. Or a thug gradually getting iced in the deep freeze.